They're very, very sharp. They are sharper. She does, and she regrows them as well. They're kind of like toothpicks, and they're sharper than the needles that we get shots with at the doctors.
Wow, they're
super sharp, and at the ends of most of them, they have little microscopic hairs called barbs, and these barbs, they do something really interesting. When we get porcupine quills in our skin, these barbs make it so the quill sinks deeper and deeper into our skin all by itself. You got to be careful when you're dealing with porcupines. And most animals, most predators have learned not to mess with porcupines. But, you know, if they didn't have these quills, they would make a nice snack for a lot of animals. They're nice and plump and round. So I'm sure mountain lions and bobcats and foxes would love to eat a porcupine, but they've learned over time not to mess with them. But there are a couple animals that have learned special ways to hunt porcupines. And the biggest ones are in the weasel family. There's an animal called a fisher, and there's an animal called a marten. Both in the weasel family, and they've learned that we can attack a porcupine by going for the belly. The belly doesn't really have that many quills on it. So it's even been observed that some of these animals, the fishers and the martens, have they've circled around porcupines, making them dizzy until the porcupine either loses balance or falls, and then it'll attack its stomach. And you'll notice they're also great tree climbers. She's climbing. And porcupines, they are excellent climbers. It might have looked like she was struggling a little bit, but I assure you she was doing a great job. They have really long claws that help them, and they have a tail that helps them climb as well. When she climbs back down, I want you to take a look at her tail. She uses it to help as a grip, which is pretty interesting. Another thing I like to talk about is what family they belong to. So I want to play a game with you guys. I want you, out of the three animals I'm going to say, I want you to try to guess which animal porcupines are related to. So the three animals I'm going to tell you: raccoons, hedgehogs, or beavers. Raise your hand if you think they're in the raccoon family. One of us. Raise your hand if you think they're in the hedgehog family. A few of us. And raise your hand if you think they're in the beaver family. Ah, majority says beaver, and the majority is correct. They are in the rodent family. In fact, they are the third largest rodent in the entire world. They are the biggest porcupine in the world, but the third largest rodent. Can anyone tell me the two rodents that are even larger than the porcupine? Capybara, that's number one. That is the largest rodent in the world, found in South America. What's number two? It's one we just talked about a second ago.
Armadillo? No.
It is the beaver. The beaver is the second largest. So those are the two biggest, but the North American porcupine is the third largest. She doesn't really look like a rodent, but she is in the rodent family. If you look closely at her, she has those long rodent teeth that constantly grow. So she needs to keep chewing on stuff to make sure those teeth are nice and filed down. In the wild, they do that by chowing, nibbling on bark and trees and a bunch of different things. In the wild, they're going to be eating bark, they're going to be eating berries, leaves, all kinds of herbivorous things. And today, Penelope is getting a special diet. We change her diet up every day. And what is she eating today, Sam?
She has bell pepper, apple, sweet potato, and rodent blocks.
Ooh, apple and pepper, sweet potato, and rodent blocks. So those are some really great healthy things. I hope a lot of us in the audience are eating those things and staying healthy. Yep. Rodent blocks are kind of like pressed alfalfa hay, kind of like a cookie to our friend Penelope here. Another thing they really like is the taste of salt. They crave that taste of salt, kind of like we crave sugar. I have a big sweet tooth. Penelope has a big craving for salt. So sometimes they are found chewing on wood that are found around people's homes. They chew on people's houses, they chew on like boat oars. So sometimes they're seen as pests in a lot of places. We don't have them around here, so we probably all think this is such a cool thing. But a lot of places in the US and Canada, people don't want to see porcupines. They're tired of porcupines chewing on all their stuff around their home. But they are really cool. They help they help out the environment by eating berries and spreading seeds, and they are food for a couple different animals. So they have their role in the environment, and they are affected by different things that we humans cause, unfortunately. And one of the biggest ones is forest fires. Now, we have a lot of forest fires here in California. It's pretty hot here, it's pretty dry, and a lot of the CO2 we're pumping into the atmosphere is causing these wildfires, and these fires are burning down the forests that these porcupines need to survive. So there are some things we could do for us adults, voting for acts that help support open lands and support sustainable forestry and protecting forests, and even things like prescribed burns, which is going to help prevent wildfires. And just, supporting species like the porcupine, endangered species. There's a lot of different things, and we encourage you all here at Lindsay to go and learn about different ways we can help the environment. Now, does anyone have any questions about porcupines or Penelope?
How about as far as humans and porcupines? Are they afraid of us? Or no, not really? I mean,
Yeah, so generally there's not a ton of interaction with humans and porcupines. As I said, they can be considered pests in some areas. They will come. They're nocturnal, so they're coming around at night. We're not going to see them a lot during the day. You might walk through a forest and people either don't see them at all because they're in the trees during the day. They might be in a log. A lot of people think I mistake them for like bird nests up in trees because they kind of just look like, a pile of branches or twigs.
so if we were going to approach one, let's say I see one in my backyard and I go to approach one, is it automatically going to sprout those needles at me?
That's a great question. What will a porcupine do if you encounter it? Well, one of the things they do to protect themselves, to make themselves look threatening, is they will kind of stand still, raise all the quills on their body to make themselves look bigger, but they cannot shoot their quills. So don't be afraid, you're not going to get any quills shot at you, but they do come out really easily upon contact. So do not touch a porcupine, and do not let your pets touch the porcupines, because even just the slightest touch on a quill, it will come out on your hand. You might have seen like pictures on Facebook or maybe on Animal Planet. You've seen the vet shows of dogs that unfortunately get face full of quills. Has anyone ever seen that before? So yeah, sometimes dogs will go after porcupines and just get so many quills in their face. So it's important to look after pets. But generally, they are pretty, they're pretty protective of themselves, and they're pretty scared creatures. They have pretty poor eyesight, so they can't really see that well in general. And they're pretty solitary, so like to stick on their own anyways.
So they don't want to be bothered.
They don't really want to be bothered.
Animals, nothing. Just leave them alone.
Yeah, just leave them alone. They're really slow, so they're not threatening to us or anything like that. They're just gonna waddle around slowly, climb trees, and eat the leaves and bark and fruits around us. Another thing they will do to protect themselves is make themselves smell very badly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they'll put out an odor that will hopefully make predators go, that smells really bad, I don't want that. And now some of the keepers, and me included, we have gone in her enclosure to clean up, and her enclosure smells pretty bad. Is that right, Sam? It's kind of a mix of like human urine and BO. So, yeah. If you smell it right now, don't worry, that's not you. That is Penelope. She makes herself smell a little bit badly. But luckily her poops aren't that bad to clean up because they're just like little round pellets. The birds are a lot worse to clean up after. Are there any other questions? Penelope is still working on her food up there. We'll see her climb down in a minute or so, which will be pretty cool. No questions?
Not right now. She just looks so cuddly, like you want to go up there and just cuddle.
Yeah, she looks a little bit cuddly, but unfortunately not very much. And as I said, they're nocturnal, So Penelope's out here this morning doing our training. She's used to doing that. But after this, she's going back to her enclosure and she's gonna nap for the rest of the day.
How old did they live? How long did they live? How old is she?
That's a great question. She is around 5 years old. She just turned 5 in April. And they can get up into their teens, their 20s if they're lucky. Depends on, where they're living, if they're in human care. And did you have another question?
Just what was their life expectancy? So 20.
Yeah,
15.
around there. And she's a female, and the males get even larger. So
How many
she's about
babies does she have?
she's about 14, 15 pounds or so. But the males can get up to 20, 30 pounds. So they're quite big animals.
How many pounds is she?
She's about 15 pounds or so, maybe a little less than that. She doesn't. She's not breeded before. She was born in human care and has been in human care her whole life. So she's never bred or been in the wild or anything like that. What?
How's she people?
That's a great question. I'm not too familiar with porcupine breeding, but another question people ask that, gets them concerned is how do porcupine mothers give birth? How does that work? Does that hurt? Luckily, porcupines, when they're born, their quills are soft and they're not hardened at all. And once they're out of their mother, the quills will harden within a few hours, maybe within a couple days. So nice and soft when they come out. So luckily for the mother, they're not going to get pricked during birth.
But do they nurse? No.
Yes. Yeah, they'll nurse.
So with the husband. It's dangerous.
Yeah, so you got to be careful when you're a porcupine. They're actually pretty clumsy too. So when you're a baby, you got to be careful. But even as an adult, one of the main causes of death is actually just falling out of trees. And they'll quill themselves when they fall out of trees. So, yeah, you got to be careful when you're a porcupine because those quills do protect you. But, they could hurt you as well. You got to be careful. And yeah, I mentioned earlier how they're related to beavers and not hedgehogs. Not related to hedgehogs at all. Hedgehogs, live in a different part of the world than a North American porcupine. They just develop similar characteristics over time.
Do they swim?
Do they swim? Not really. I mean, they can be buoyant, but they're not designed for swimming, really. They're just kind of round and fluffy, and their claws aren't really designed for swimming. And check her out going down the tree. Take a look at her tail. She's using that to help prop her up as a grip. It's kind of like a beaver tail she's using it for. Now, some people will ask why she's not climbing down face first like a squirrel would. And that one of the reasons is because to protect herself. So as I said, a lot of her quills are in her back region. So if there was a predator like a mountain lion or a bobcat waiting at the bottom of the tree trying to get the porcupine, they're going to get most of those quills in their face waiting down. So that's one of the reasons why they climb down backwards. And it looks like she's all done with her training, so let's give Penelope a round of applause. I think she did a great job. Thank you, Penelope. Thank you, Keeper Sam. Sam and I will be out here for another couple minutes. If you have any questions, please let us know. But other than that, thank you for joining us here in Porcupine Time.
Thank you.
Thank you.